Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Saturday, and I think this is going to be one of those multiple video days because I want to show you what the overnight model runs did with this. By the way, really quick, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, become a regular subscriber. It's absolutely free, and you'll get notified when new videos come up. Okay, end of shameless promo. All right, so we are continuing to watch weather models to see this sort of battle that's going on between, coast hugger and offshore track. And the mid-cycle run of the GFS last night finally has gone to the east and matches up not quite exactly to the European, but getting there. The problem is that we have to resolve this track because for the very immediate coast, it could mean a mix, a changeover to sleet or rain, and that will impact forecasts and accumulation amounts. It makes it kind of tough to figure. But, I think at this point, it's pretty safe for me to say that if you are basically along I-95 and north and west of that, you're all snow for sure. And I think the odds of that being a 1 foot plus snow have grown quite a bit from what we saw yesterday and last night. And if you are east of I-95, in other words, if you're in coastal New Jersey and if you are on Long Island and in Connecticut, south of I-95, I still think it could mean many inches, even if there are mixing issues. This is going to be a short-term forecast detail that we're going to have to wait till we literally get there in order to figure it out. So here's the GFS from the mid-cycle run. The run right before this had a coast hugger, but this is the mid-cycle run where the low is offshore and heading to Nantucket and Cape Cod and into the Gulf of Maine by early Wednesday morning. Now, this would suggest, and let me just back it up for those of you in Virginia. Again, it looks like in the northern and northwestern Virginia into Maryland. Washington, D.C., Baltimore start as rain and then go over to heavy snow on the GFS. And Philadelphia also, you start off as snow and stay heavy snow right through. The rain snow line never gets to southeastern Pennsylvania. It does get into southern New Jersey and possibly into coastal New Jersey. You can see how tight that is, where it's showing some mixing issues at this point. Long Island on this would possibly mix and then change back to snow. But again, it may not make a difference of the total amounts. It could still wind up being a foot plus for everybody. And then it's on up into into New England, all of southern New England, all of New England, in fact, but especially around Boston. Looks like Boston gets hammered incredibly so. And I'll show you the snowfall map from this. And I can use the total snowfall map because we don't have a snow event from the early on to worry about. All right, so we'll get very tight. Now this is the GFS's generated snowfall map from overnight, and you can see the impact of mixing issues in southern New Jersey. It does actually imply 1 foot plus snows for Long Island, except maybe the extreme east end. But even there, I find that sometimes in these instances, the model really doesn't get it right, that it winds up being just as much there as everywhere else. But you can see the large extent of 1 foot plus snows across northeastern Virginia, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, on up all the way to Boston. The 1 foot line would be right just about like this. Okay, so if we have a slight eastward shift further, we could wind up with a slightly more expanded area of 1 foot plus snows to cover the immediate coast. I wouldn't completely rule it out, by the way, even for southernmost New Jersey, because of the fact that I still think that we might wind up with a track a little bit further offshore. So let's see. Let's show you the European, and I want to go to the surface. By the way, thank you for those of you who commented about the fact, as I mentioned, about that food poisoning situation that I got myself into, eating a bad bowl of chicken soup. I'm still not 100%, but I'm getting there. Okay, so here's the European, and there's the European for, this is for Tuesday evening. Very deep low, 982 millibars, and we'll match it up to the GFS. And you can see the GFS is a little further northeast, but it's the same general idea. Let me go back to the European now. And I haven't actually looked at the Canadian yet. So you know what? Why don't we do that together? It's very important that we do things like this together. Just enjoy the adventure, folks. This is going to be quite the snowstorm for mid-March. You start to get, we're at a point in the calendar where, these events do happen, but they are rare. You start to get later and later in March, but it took the whole winter for us to get into a blocking pattern. So, and now one of the things with the Canadian model up until now is that it had a further offshore track, which I never really did believe. It had it way out, but now it really kind of lines up with the European. So let's see what it does for snow. This ought to be interesting. Total snowfall. All right, so it looks like it's a little more bullish for whatever reason. It does what it does, a little more bullish south and west, but it's still every bit of 10-inch plus snow. So let's get really tight. One of the things when you get to these kind of snowstorms, for me as a forecaster, it's actually a lot easier in some respects, because once you have it figured out that it's going to be a big snowfall, you just put your forecast out and you can just say a foot plus and just be done with it. I'm not sure why it does this. It's got this kind of hole in between over eastern Connecticut and east central Massachusetts. Why it does that, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. But you can see big snows down through southwestern New Jersey, down into Washington, D.C., Baltimore, of a foot to a foot and a half on this model. Then it kind of lowers to about a foot or so as you go north and west. And I don't think it's because of mixing issues, so I'm not sure why it does that. And then it regenerates it again when you go into eastern New England. Look, the bottom line is, this whole area in here, somewhere, this whole area in here like this is at risk for a foot plus. And I think that that's pretty much a given. If you're on the Canadian, we'll look at the GFS snowfall map here. Let me just take that off. I'm not used to cutting these videos earlier in the day. You can see I'm still only through my second cup of coffee. I'm not quite there yet. So here's the GFS's representation, which I think is pretty fair. So it would be, here's your 1 foot plus snow line. I think I think that's how it's going to line up, as long as we have a slightly offshore track. And a lot of times in these situations, the cold air becomes more important than what the models show, and oftentimes that cold air gets displaced further southeast rather than where the models have it. So I've seen that happen many times over the years, where on an intense snowstorm where the rain snow line is brought just to the coast and it never really gets there. It stays offshore. The cold air just becomes that much more important, and we see all snow for everybody. So look, those were the overnight model runs. I'll pull up a new video later today when we get the whole day cycle done of the GFS European and Canadian models and see where it goes. But the one nice thing about when you're dealing with big storms meteorologically on the weather models is that it's the dominating feature. So once it kind of locks onto an idea that it's going to happen, then you just have to worry about track. And once that gets locked on, it doesn't really vary too much. So we're going to just wait, and I'll put up another video later today and update you on all of this. All right, so in the meantime, let me just warn you, by the way, if you go to the National Weather Service's snowfall forecast maps, such as this one, all right, you're going to see a map that shows 2 to 3 inches, okay, with some 4-inch amounts. Make sure you check the timestamp, okay, and the valid time. This is only valid through March 14th, 8 a.m. So this is through into only till 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. This storm is the bulk of it is going to be during the daytime Tuesday into Tuesday night. So this is only telling us what's going to be falling Monday night into Tuesday morning at the very beginning. So make sure if you go to National Weather Service snow forecast maps, which I think are very useful, there's a 72-hour. They go out 72 hours. In this instance, because of where we are in the timing of the storm, we would have needed to go out 84 hours to see the snowfall in its totality. But this evening, when this is updated, it will go to Tuesday evening, so you will see the bigger amounts. I just don't want any confusion, because I know I will get messages saying, well, the Weather Service is only saying 2 inches for ice slip. Yeah, that's Monday night into Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. The storm is the bulk of it's going to be from 8 a.m. Tuesday to 8 p.m. Tuesday. Okay, so make sure you check out the web posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Angry Ben will be doing his duty for New York City on nycweathernow.com. And if you want specific personal zip code forecasts, you can download my app and subscribe for $1. Okay, I'll put the link up here, and it's also a link to that to Google Play and to iTunes is on my website. But that's for New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. So everybody have a good Saturday morning, and we will update you on all this later today.